So we at Chandigarh University try our level best to prepare all the international community for this much awaited exam, that's PRAGATI. We try our level best to handhold each one of you for all the modules and all the sections in all those modules. So as a part of this series today, I'll be covering a very important topic, percentages, which is generally asked every year in PRAGATI exam in the quantitative section. So rather than taking much of your time, let's quickly move on to the presentation for percentages. Wherever you have a doubt, we'll appreciate if you can raise your hands or put it in the comments section in our YouTube channel. So as the term suggests, percentage. Percent implies percent. Percent. That means, now if I write it down, percent, that means 1 upon 100. So anything which is with reference to 100 is known as percentage. So if I say 10%, which is nothing but 10 upon 100, or we can call it 1 upon 10. In other terms, if I say I need to convert 1 by 5 into percentage. Now 1 by 5 into percentage, that means I need to take a reference of 100. So I'll multiply this by 100 because I need to calculate the value of 5 with respect to 100, right? So 1 by 5 into 100, which is nothing but 20. So that means if I write 1 by 5 or I write 20%, which is one at the same thing. I hope that's clear to everybody. That's just the meaning of the word percentage. So if in basic terminology, as the word suggests, if you read this line carefully, X is what percent of Y, right? So that means what percent of Y. So Y is my reference. So Y will be in the denominator. Anything which is being asked as a what percentage will always come in the numerator, X by Y into 100. So I'll take an example to clarify this point. So if I say 3 is what percent of 50? 3 is what percent of 50? Now, as I said, of 50. So my reference here is 50 exactly. So 50 is my reference. 3 is what percent of 50? So I'll say 3 by 50 into 100 because I need to convert this into percentage. So I'll multiply this by 100. So which is nothing but 6%, right? Similarly, if I say, what is X percent of Y? What is X percent of Y? Now, let's take an example to understand it. What is 10% of 8,000? X percentage of Y. So 10 upon 100 into 8,000, which is nothing but 800. So that's the answer for this. So we need to understand the basic concept that whenever I say what is 5% of 1,000, what is 20% of 20,000, so nothing to panic. 20% of 20,000, which is 20 by 100 into 20,000, right? Now the percentage change concept have to be understood very carefully. So let me take an example to make you clarify what is percentage change. So let's say the price of a shirt was 150, right? Now the new price is 200. I went to the market to buy a shirt. The initial price was 150. Now I went again to buy the same shirt after a couple of weeks. The price was 200. What is the change? 50 rupees. But the author says, what is the percentage change in the price of the shirt? Now to understand what is the percentage change in the price of shirt, I'll calculate the difference, right? So the difference is 50. Yeah, difference is 50. Now I'll divide it by, there comes the confusion to a couple of students that I'll divide it by 150 or 200. Now remember I said off. Here my initial price is 150. It changes to 200. So I'll always divide this difference of 50 by the original value, the initial price. So as my presentation says, the new value minus the original value divided by the original. So you call it original or the initial price is a better term for it. So 50 divided by 150 into 100. Yeah. And then you calculate it. So 100 by 3 will tell you what to memorize, what not. The answer boils down to 33.33%. Right? I hope it's clear to all. We can take one more example. So if you say the initial price of this laptop, let's say, is 1,000 rupees. After a couple of months, the price of the laptop increases to 1,200. Now, what is the percentage change in the price of the laptop? Don't worry, the laptop is not that cheap. It is not going to be $1,000, but I'm just taking a random example. So the price of laptop was 1,000. Now it increases to 1,200. So as I said, you need to calculate the difference divided by the original or the initial price. Yeah, original value, or you call it initial price, multiplied by 100. So the difference is of 200. The original price, which is 1,000 multiplied by 100. Yeah. So what is the percentage increase? 20%. So now some of you might be wondering, is it always an increase? It can be a decrease too, right? So the price of the laptop, let's say, was 1,000 and it decreases to 700. I hope all of you can tell me orally now what is the percentage decrease. There is a decrease of 300 upon the original value exactly. So that notion should be ignored that the higher value has to be in the denominator or the lower value. There is no thumb rule. There has to be the initial price, initial value, right? So in the first two examples, I was dividing it by the lower value, but that's not the concept. The concept is the initial price. So the initial here is 1,000. So I'll divide 300 by 1,000 into 100, which makes it nothing but 30%, right? So let's take this as an example. So the example says, total production of cards in 2008 in company A, whatever company you like, you imagine that is 1,000. And the total production in the cards in after 2 years in 2010 increases to 1,500. Find the percentage increase or decrease in the production value. Now imagine the initial value is 1,000. The new value is 1,500. There is a jump of 500. Bingo. So 500 has to be divided by 1,000. So 500 has to be divided by 1,000 multiplied by 100. So if you divide 500 by 1,000, I hope all of you are good at calculations, and the answer comes down to 50%. Yeah, similarly, if you look at the second example, almost a similar case. In January, Jalen worked a total of 35 hours. In February, he worked for 42 hours. In March, it was decreased to 35. So what percentage did Jalen working hours increase or decrease in February? In February, he worked for 42 hours. Now the question says how much percentage it increase or decrease from January. Yeah, so we are least bothered about March. So January value is taken as the initial value. February, there is a jump of 7, and you will divide it by 35 into 100. Now to make life easier, we recommend that couple of fractions should be memorized. Yeah. Now how do we memorize it? So 1 by 3, as I said, we are multiplying it by 100, which boils down to 33.33%. So from 1 by 3 to 1 by 4, 1 by 6. Yeah, so 1 by 6 need not to be memorized separately. If you remember 1 by 3, 1 by 6 is nothing but half of it. Similarly, 1 by 12 is nothing but half of 1 by 6. 1 by 6 is 16.66. So this is 8.33, right? So 1 by 13, to make life easier, you can call it 7.7. Yeah, 15 can be memorized as 6.6. If you can go ahead, 1 by 18 can be memorized as 5.5. So these three can be memorized collectively, 7.7, 6.6, and 5.5, right? Good if you can memorize the others as well. We'll send you this log 1 by 3 to 1 by 18. If you want to memorize 1 by 17, you might be wondering, I've skipped that. So 1 by 15 is 6.6, 16 is 6.25. So that means 1 by 17 is nothing but 5.8. Yeah. So let's go ahead to the second concept of the day, successive increase or decrease. Now, what do I mean by successive increase? Let's understand the concept first. Yeah, I bought a pen, let's say for 100 rupees. After a week, the shopkeeper increased the price to 120. He again increased it to 130. Now the question arises that what is the overall increase or decrease in the price of this pen? If I go by layman terms, the initial price was 100. It increases to 130. Finally, so I am least bothered about the middle value. So the final value is 130. The first price was 100. So that means the difference is of 30. 30 has to be divided by 100 and multiplied by 100. So what is my overall increase? 30%. Yeah. Now let's look at the question statement from a different angle. The author doesn't give us these prices 100, 120, 30. Rather, he says that the price of this pen increases by 20%, right? It again increases by 10% of the increased price. So what is the overall increase or decrease in the price of the pen? Looks like the question is easy, sir. 20 plus 10 makes it 30, or initial answer was also 30. No, life is not that easy. Yeah. So 20 is my first increase. In this case, I specifically wrote 130 so that you imagine the answer for the next question also to be 30. Now let's solve this question 20 and 30 taking values first by the traditional method. Yeah. So I'll solve the previous question by taking traditional values, 20% and then the increase of 10%. Those who are wondering the answer is 30, no, that's an incorrect. Let's prove it by the conservative traditional method. Let's say the first price of the pen is 100. It increases by 20. So the new price is 20% higher of 100. I hope each one of you can calculate it. 100 plus 20% of 100, which makes it 120. Now it again increases by 10%. So 10% of 120 bache is how much? 12. Yeah, so that means the new price is 132. As we discussed, the percentage change has to be calculated as the difference between the final and the initial divided by the initial. So the difference is of 32. You divide it by 100 multiplied by 100. The answer boils down to 32%. But that's such a long method, right? For such an easy question. Then if the values are 5 or 6 in number and the values are complicated, it becomes too difficult. So what is the other way out? So what do we suggest? That if you go by the formula which we have showed you in the presentation, right? Which says x plus y plus xy upon 100. Now what does x stands for? The first percentage change. Don't assume it to be an increase, the first percentage change. Y is the second percentage change, right? Let's apply it. Here, the first percentage change is 20. Yes. The next percentage change is 10. And then if you multiply 20 by 10 makes it 200 by 100 makes it 2. So 20 plus 10 plus 2, 32. Right? So whichever you feel convenient, you should adopt that. But we always recommend that you go by the second approach for a complicated question or a difficult question. Even this can be used in coming days for simple interest questions. We'll be using this successive percentage, a lot of time and work questions as well. So this is going to help you a lot and even in the forthcoming chapters. Now let's try applying it. Right, in this question, he says the population of a town was this and this at the end of 12. In 13, it increased by 10. In 14, it decreased by 20. What was the population at the end of 2014? Right, let's say the question is, what is the percentage increase or decrease by the end of 2014? So the first value is plus 10 because it's an increase. So I'm saying plus 10. So can I use this same shortcut for answering decrease questions? Yes, but the only apprehension is you need to use a negative sign with the value, right? So second year it decreased by 20. So that means x is plus 10, but y is minus 20, right? So if you look at the presentation, x stands for plus 10, y is minus 20. If you multiply a positive and a negative, you get a negative. So it's minus 200 by 100, which is 2, right? So 10 minus 20 minus 2. So which makes it minus 12%, right? So A's salary is increased by 30% and then first it is decreased by. So what is X here? Perfect. Minus 30. Then it increases by 10. So that means plus 10%. The change in the salary is. So X plus Y plus XY upon 100 for all the successive percentage increase decrease question. X is minus 30, Y is plus 10. And then if you multiply both of them, you get a minus 300 by 100, which is 3, right? So minus 30 minus 3, which makes it minus 33 plus 10. What does it stands for? Minus 23. Now this minus indicates overall there is a decrease. So what is my answer as per the options? B, right? Minus 23%. Similarly, you can calculate the percentage decrease or increase of the value. Now moving to the last concept of percentage, the constant product questions. Now, what do you mean by constant product questions? Now, as it is mentioned, the consumption and expenditure based questions. It can be a time spent distance based questions, right? Where distance is equal to speed into time. And if distance is constant, if speed is increasing, obviously the time taken to cover the same distance would decrease, right? Similarly, let's say if I want to keep my expenditure constant. Yeah. Expenditure is nothing but price of an article multiplied by consumption. My expenditure monthly on the consumption of rice, let's assume it to be constant value. I don't want to increase my expenditure, but unfortunately there is an increase in the price of rice. So my consumption have to decrease. It's too obvious. If I had 200 rupees in my pocket to spend on rice today, price of rice initially was 20. I'm assuming it. Yeah, it's not that cheap. But then if it is 20, I was able to consume 10 kgs of rice. I want to still spend 200, but then the price increases, right? Let's say the price increases to 40 rupees, but I only have 200 in my pocket. So that means I'll be able to consume only 5 kgs now because the product is constant. So one has increased, the other has to decrease, right? So this increase, the price increase, that means my consumption have to be decreased. So let's take an example. If the price of rice is increased by 25%, by how much percent its consumption must be decreased to make the expenditure constant? So one is traditional method, which is there in the explanation, right? But there's another method, let's understand it, for constant product questions, right? Now look at this table very carefully. As I said, if one is increasing, the other has to decrease. Now, this question will be much easier for those students, those who have memorized those values, which I showed you in the last slide, right? So what is 25% in terms of fractions? 1 by 4. Now, price of rice increased by 25%. Increased. In terms of fractions, this is 1 by 4. By how much percent its consumption must be decreased? A simple shortcut to answer such questions is, if this is an increase, and you're looking for an answer for decrease, increase the denominator by 1 unit, given the fact your fraction is in this form, which is generally the case in such Pragati based question papers. You just increase it by 1, which is 1 by 5, and that's your answer. You just need to increase the denominator by 1 unit. And what is that? 1 by 5 in percentage terms, 20%. So the question arises, sir, it is valid for everything? Yes, for everything and anything where 1 is the numerator. Now, if I say price of, let's take the other way out, the price of rice decreases by 25%. Yeah, the price of rice decreases. Aapko decrease, decrease has been given to you. So here 1 by 4, as I said, if you're looking for a decrease in the answer, you need to increase the denominator by 1. Obviously, the reverse is true for the reverse question. Now, decrease is given to you, and this is by how much percent you can increase your consumption so that your expenditure remains constant. So that means I need to decrease the denominator by 1. Exactly. So 1 by 3 is my answer, which is nothing but 33.33%. Right? Yeah. Now look at this question, the last question of the day. If the price of petrol is decreased by 25%, price of petrol is decreased. What is given to you? Increase or decrease? Decrease by 25%, which is 1 by 4. By how much percent its consumption must be increased? So I'm looking for a increase, right? So that means my denominator should be reduced by 1, which is nothing but 1 by 3. So what is my answer option? 33. Is this valid for all questions where the product is constant, right? So similarly, if it says price of petrol, instead of price of petrol, it says the speed of the car decreased by 25%. By how much percent its time taken to cover the same distance, time taken to go from Delhi to Zambia, yeah, must be increased to make the distance remains constant. So this part will not be written. Look at the new question now. The speed of the airline is decreased by 25%. So this is decreased. Yeah. By how much percent the time taken to cover the distance from Delhi to Zambia will be increased. I need to this increase. I'm looking for an answer which is based out of increase. If you're looking for an answer for an increase, just reduce the denominator by 1 unit and the answer is 33.33%, valid for all fractions, right? So I hope, today's discussion was fruitful for many of you. If you still have questions, try to put it in all the comments section. We keep looking at our comments in the YouTube channel, but then we try answering most of your questions in the comment section. But then if there are requirement of more videos on the same topic, we'll surely create more videos depending upon your queries in the comment section, right? So we think Chandigarh University is doing a great job by preparing all the international student fraternity on this much awaited Pragati exam. Don't worry, we'll come up with many more videos on all the 3 aspects of the exam: quantitative, logical, English. Till then, goodbye. This is Pradeep Bansal signing off. Thank you.